So let's go to Johannesburg now and talk to Dr. Thanti Mthanti. He's a senior lecturer at South Africa's Wits Business School. Dr. Mthanti, welcome back to Money Talks. Great to have you on the show as always. Is the Steinhoff case, do you think, something unique to this company, or is it perhaps symptomatic of what is going on in corporate South Africa today?
Thank you for having me. I think it's particularly unique and very odd, to say the least, partially because Steinhoff is controlled by Wits, who is one of South Africa's richest men. He sits on the board. He and his son sit on the board. He owns a substantial shareholding. So how such a scandal could happen with a person who has a substantial share in the business overseeing it, it's quite odd.
I can imagine that there are some unique factors to this, but on the same day as this, there are some other headlines out of South Africa. A law firm in the US is investigating Naspers, the big tech investor in South Africa, and also the South African regulator is looking into trades in Oak Bay, the Gupta-linked company. So there does seem to be more and more examples of corporate malfeasance in South Africa these days.
Oddly, both the Naspers and the Oak Bay group are linked to corruption more in the state or in the government sector, and less so much in the private sector. South Africa is pretty much highly ranked on corporate governance by the World Competitiveness Report. Its legal and regulatory framework is usually deemed quite good. The accounting standards are usually quite good. Where we have seen large incidences of corruption or of poor corporate governance is with respect to state-owned institutions and parastatals. And yes, to a degree, obviously, there is an intersection between government and parastatals and private companies. But generally, South African companies have been pretty well governed. I'm saying besides an on instance here and there. And this one, like I say, is particularly strange because the person overseeing the company had $2 or $3 billion of his money in the company. So how he would allow such dealings, it's very odd.
Right, I see. Nonetheless, though, I mean, since 1994, I mean, South Africa has had a very good set of guidelines in terms of corporate governance in the form of the King Report. And there have been several revisions to that since then. And every time there's been instructions, guidelines about audits and how audits should be carried out. And yet we still see these kinds of examples coming out. Do you think it's time for the guidelines in the King Report to actually be legislated for and for them to have some real clout?
Like I said, I don't know if you could have legislated anything against this. Wits had $2 or $3 billion of his own money in Steinhoff. He's an executive chair of the company. His son sits on the board. Why would they allow dealings in the company to threaten their own money? So to me, really, reviewing the corporate governance framework in this case, based on this case per se, might be quite futile because it completely makes no sense. The executive chair has substantial personal investment in this company. Why would he allow underhanded dealings?
Okay, Dr. Thanti Mthanti in Johannesburg, thank you ever so much.